Welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm, having a successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax business. This show is dedicated to helping accounting professionals start and build their own successful accounting, bookkeeping, tax business, getting paid what they're worth, offering quality accounting services. Now, in these episodes that we do for the podcast, we're going to spend time listening to individuals that are experts in their field, people who have been successful, getting the advice, tips, and tricks that they have to share with each of us individually to implement in our businesses. At the same time, we're going to be sharing typical topics that you would expect, such as how to market and sell your services, how to actually interact and retain your customers over and beyond what it is that's traditionally expected, what you can be doing to price your services effectively, how you can actually go about expanding into advisory services, and so much more. So I invite you to actually subscribe to and listen to the other episodes of this podcast. I myself am Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center. For more than 20 years, I've been working with accounting professionals to help them both start and build their accounting businesses. And in this process, I've made many, many friends. I've gotten to know many, many people that have been extremely successful. And more importantly, I've been able to actually make a difference in the lives of many people, as I also have been affected with friendships and also business relationships. So in that context, I invite you to sit back, listen in, and enjoy today's episode. We have something special. Over the last number of years, I've been asked by a number of people about starting an accounting business, starting a bookkeeping or tax business. And so I'm going to dedicate today's episode to literally what it is that's needed in order to successfully start a business and avoid some of the pitfalls, challenges, and frustrations that oftentimes exist as you're starting your company. Now, I'm going to be very honest and say that in the time that we have together, there will be a few things that I'll be glossing over, but nonetheless, I'm going to touch on each of these points so as to give you kind of a short checklist of things that you can and ought to be doing to successfully start your business and do so confidently. So let me go ahead and begin, first of all, by inviting you to get a pencil and paper to literally take some notes here, because whether you've already started your own business and are well on this journey, this will be an excellent recap of things that you ought to have done and maybe some things that you need to revisit to do a little bit better. So one of the things that I'd like to emphasize is that when starting a business, I think it's very important that you realize your motivations as to why. So let me just start with some of the experiences I've had as I've interacted with some individuals. Some find themselves in a situation where starting their business wasn't anything that they were intentionally striving to do. It was like any other profession or trade. You happen to be a mechanic or you happen to be a computer technician. Friends and family become aware of your skills, and it's in the off hours over on weekends that you're maybe asked to do some things that over time turns into, hey, I'm doing this as a favor. Maybe I ought to get paid for this. Or more importantly, you start to have people reaching out and it's something that you think you ought to get paid for. You just don't know how to price it, and you just haphazardly come up with a fee, something that you maybe barter or trade, and lo and behold, you start actually doing work. Well, it's very similar for an accounting professional. Somebody asks that you do their taxes, help them with that, maybe help set up their books of business because they've taken a hobby and started to make money with it. Either way, what the accounting professional experiences is what many people experience. They get into this unknowingly in the sense that in short order, they look back and lo and behold, they've got one or two or three clients, some of whom are paying them, some of whom they've maybe discounted the compensation just because they're friends and family. Either way, there's this epiphany, this moment where, oh my heavens, I'm actually making money with this. You're kind of astounded that people will actually pay to have you do this. And it's in that moment that you realize you are in fact already in business. And so starting the business can have that kind of experience. It's this part-time thing you're doing on weekends and evenings, and all of a sudden it's, why don't I do this full-time? That's phenomenal. That's wonderful. I like speaking with those people and kind of going through that experience with them as they now take it to the next level. For others, this is something very deliberate. It's possibly something that's a life change where they're in a situation of losing a position and a place of employment. And this becomes the next logical step is, well, let me just start a business and hire myself. Now I'm employed and I'm up and running. For others, it's actually a goal. It's something intentional. They have that entrepreneurial spirit and they've been waiting for that opportunity to make that leap and literally go out there and start their business because they have a passion to do something specific in the accounting profession and help business owners. Whatever your motivation, the point that I'm trying to address here is that when starting your business, there comes this moment where all of a sudden you realize I'm doing this it's legitimate, it's something official, and I need to be serious. Whenever that takes place, that's when these next things that I'm going to share come into play. And that's why you've got in front of you your paper and pencil. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to establish essentially what are the services that we're going to be offering. We're not just putting our shingle out and saying, I'm in business. It's, well, what do I do? And so I always advise that it's best to start with, tell me what your services are. And it's literally writing out the features of what it is. Consider, if you will, you're basically in your P&L defining your revenue streams. I'm going to make money doing X, Y, Z. And that's where we're actually spending the time defining, here's that service. Here's this package that I'm going to be paid for. Now, don't worry about the amount you're going to be paid just as of yet, but literally take a moment and just define, here's what I'm thinking I'm offering. This is the package or bundle of services that I'm providing. For a bookkeeper, it's obviously I'm going to prepare the financial reports. Maybe I'm doing payroll. Maybe I'm doing cleanup work. Perhaps I'm setting up QuickBooks or FreshBooks or Sage. It's possibly that I'm doing accounting work where I'm going in and analyzing and interpreting. Maybe I'm doing part-time CFO work where I'm going in and actually taking on that advisory role. Maybe I'm being a business coach and I'm offering more coaching services. Perhaps I'm doing taxes, tax preparation, tax planning. In the tax preparation, am I doing individuals? Am I doing business returns? You're going through and itemizing, in essence, what are these different revenue offerings that you're providing? Now, as you define those, the next step is to then ask, well, who cares? You're doing these things. How does it benefit the person you're serving? How is it that they benefit from paying you for that task? So all of a sudden, for each of these things, as an exercise, we want to then define why you, how you're doing it is so much better than anyone else doing it, and what is, in fact, the benefit that the customer receives. How do they financially go ahead? Are they better off because you did this particular service for them? And if you can define that, what you're doing is you're getting a clear explanation of the benefits that they're receiving. This is going to become important later on when we're looking at marketing and selling your services. But at this early stage, what we need to clearly define is, what do you do? What's your market? What's your niche? Are you focused on certain industries or services that you're going to target? This is a moment of truth to simply say, okay, do you do windows? Do you take out the garbage? Do you do someone's carpentry? What are the things you do? And that's going to help you be more clear in what it is that you're offering to your clients. Now, this very important exercise, I've done it with people who've literally been in business, who have clients that have revenue coming in, and I've asked them to just take a moment and clearly define for me their features and benefits, the associated benefits, and they for whatever reason, this is the first time they've ever done it. They've never really thought it through this way. And as you itemize the revenue streams that you actually have, it becomes a lot more clear the offerings that you provide. And this is helpful when you're drafting, say, a website or a brochure, explaining your services, when you're asked to do a presentation on what is accounting and you're having to itemize at the end what it is you offer. However you want to look at this, this is an intentional thing that you need to be doing as you're sitting down and thinking about your business. The next thing that you need to then determine is, what is your business plan? The business plan is I've got a clear list of what I do and what I think people will pay for. Well, let's do a pro forma now and literally figure out, okay, so what does my business need to look like in order for me to be happy? It's beginning with the end in mind. Now, at this stage with the people that I work with, they're oftentimes very vague. To be honest, I'm very frustrated by this, but at the same time, I'm also very astounded. I'll ask the very simple question, how much are you wanting to make? How much revenue do you want to earn as a business? How much take home are you trying to earn? Whichever answer you're looking for, but answer the question, how much do you want to make? Now, for the sake of this discussion, it's easiest with the sole proprietor and so forth to just begin with top line revenue. What are you trying to charge, earn, make, and so forth? So that question, to answer it with, I don't know, I guess, that's too elusive. What we need to do is start narrowing this down to a specific number. And oftentimes it's best answered by, what would you need and what do you want? Two distinct numbers, two very unique numbers. The need is, you already have in your lifestyle a number that you're accustomed to, something that you've been earning for the last number of years, something that you would need to make sure that you're covering all of your expenses personally. what is it that you need so that each month you're not going in the hole any longer? You're able to cover your costs. That's an important number to know, because that's going to be a threshold that you need to meet. The sooner the better, the quicker the better. And so we need to know that number. So how much is it? And it varies person to person. I can talk to someone in one town and they're saying, I'm used to making $3,000-$4,000 a month. I go to someplace else that's perhaps more, let's say like some of the more expensive markets, such as when I meet with people in San Francisco, or I'm talking to someone in Chicago or New York. In these metropolitan areas, that kind of earning wouldn't meet anyone's expectations. You've got to be significantly more. In fact, in the workforce, they were making much more and have a lifestyle that needs much more. So if you're needing $10,000 a month, so be it. You need $10,000 a month. But the next question was, what do you want? And what this is just that curiosity question of, you've got friends, you've got family that make earnings. What kind of expectation would you need to have where you would say, you know what, this is comfortable. This is something that if I was making this, I'd be happy. Now, I know that people, when they achieve that number, get enlightened and realize perhaps that the sky's the limit. They could do so much more. They literally could make 6 figures, 7 figures. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but what we want to do is start with the need and the want. Later on, we can talk about sky's the limit, because at some point in your business, you will have this epiphany of, it's no longer about the money. I'm happy, I'm financially secure, and more importantly, I'm in it for another reason. So we'll talk about that later on. But right now, when we're talking about starting your business, it's these two numbers. What do you need? What do you want? Now, we can backwards engineer, using these two numbers, your business plan, and basically use some numbers to figure out, okay, what do I need? Now, beginning with the end in mind here is going to be extremely important. We already have identified what products and services you're providing. We haven't defined yet how much you're charging for each, but we are going to find out, what do you need? So what we're going to do is we're going to simply say, okay, let's assume, just for the sake of numbers, that you need $5,000 a month. You need $5,000 a month. Well, if you need $5,000 a month, what is it going to take in order to get you there? Now, we're going to use some round numbers. Basically, I'm going to simplify this just for the sake of the podcast and assume that you're interested in offering bookkeeping and tax services. Well, tax services are seasonal typically. You can make year-round revenue from taxes, doing tax planning and preparation, doing obviously business and individual returns. But for the sake of this, let's just assume that we're going to focus on the tax season, and it's a seasonal income. We want it year-round, so we're going to also offer bookkeeping and accounting services. So for bookkeeping, just to keep it simple, we're going to say that the average client you're going to take on is going to pay you $500 a month. Well, just based on the numbers, we can easily see that I need at least 10 clients paying $500 a month on average to make the $5,000 in revenue that I need to be earning. Well, that number gives us a starting point to realize I've got to quickly, as fast as possible, get to 10 clients. And if I'm averaging, one's $300, one's $700, if I'm averaging $500 for those clients offering bookkeeping and perhaps accounting services, then all of a sudden I'm in a situation where I'm now meeting my needs with 10 clients, the $5,000 a month that I need to make. Well, this is important to know because we haven't yet identified, nor have we perhaps gotten the clients that we need, but we've got some clear direction as to what this business model will take for me to be successful, at least to get to the point where I'm meeting my needs and perhaps moving more towards the wants that I have. Now, with that being said, now we're going to go to the services. Well, if I know I need 5,000 and I need bookkeeping, I could get, let's say, 10 at $500 a month. I could get fewer clients if I charged more. So if I was charging, let's say, $800 a month on average, I would obviously need fewer than 10 clients. If I was charging less than 500, let's say 400, 300 as an average, then I could actually need more. And this is giving you a starting point. So now we're going to look at the pricing of the services that we offer. And just real quickly, I do have another episode where I get into the details of what it is that you charge for the services you provide. But I'd like to, at this point, just clearly state, it's not so much what you're charging, it's how you're charging that I think is much more important. So let me address the how before we get into the what. The how you're charging is, first of all, you've got the hourly. Everybody's familiar with the hourly, and you need to figure out exactly how you're going to charge for that. I do an excellent explanation of this in another program where I go into detail, but suffice it to say, it's a simple formula. It's 2.5 times what the compensation would be if you had that particular task, you did that role in a W-2 environment as an employee. So using that number, it's pretty easy. So if you would do that role or task, let's say bookkeeping for lack of a better term, let's assume you were going to do that for $20 an hour. You would, in theory, multiply the $20 an hour times 2.5, and that's what you'd be charging as a service fee for that hourly work that you're doing. The next thing after hourly is, well, maybe I'm going to do fixed rate. Fixed rate is I'm going to go in and I'm going to determine based on the size of the business, the number of transactions and so forth, how busy I expect to be providing this service. And based on transactions and such, I'm going to charge a fixed amount. And so I'm going to go to the client, and rather than quoting, I do X dollars an hour and I'm just going to work on your services, and at the end of the month, I'll calculate how many hours I worked, I'm going to charge you a flat rate. It's going to be the same every month. And based on what we've discussed, we're going to determine that your fee will be $600 a month, and therefore you're going to be doing it flat rate $600 a month, and it's that fixed rate that you're looking for. The third way of actually charging for your services would be menu pricing. And oftentimes I find that this is most easily done after being in business for at least a year or more, and you have a number of clients that you're already working with, and you can actually then do an inventory, a review of the services that you're currently providing to each, and you can do an analysis and then bundle them and cluster them and say, well, it looks like for the majority of my clients, I do these things. So that's going to be my core offering. It looks like for a few of my clients, I do these extra services. Therefore, this is going to be maybe my A offering. And then a few of my other clients, I don't do these services. Therefore, that's going to be my C offering. And so you've got your A, B, and C. You've got your gold, silver, and platinum or whatever. And so what you're looking at here is you're defining then these menus of 3 options that the customer can pick from when selecting your services as to which they'd prefer. And in that case, what you always do is you purposely bundle the middle option as being the ideal one that you intentionally hope that they pick. You'll get a few that will pay the premium. You'll get a few that will settle for the lesser, but the menu pricing is an excellent thing. Again, I do a lot more in-depth explanation of how to price services, but I just want to cover these quickly. So you got your hourly, you've got your flat or fixed rate, you've got your menu pricing. The next is your revenue base. So most simply defined, it's just essentially the client has as a business a company that is bringing in certain dollars of revenue every month, every year. Based on that revenue range, you're able to then price your services and say, well, your size of business, you fit in this category, therefore I charge $800 a month. I charge $1,200 a month. I charge $1,500 a month. And all of a sudden, you're not having to hourly price them, nor fixed rate, nor menu price them. It's based on the size of their business and the revenue that they're making. And it's an easy way to calculate, obviously, your services. And then the last one, which is one that's quite popular to hear about, it's described a lot in in pricing discussions, and it's this idea of value pricing. It is an excellent way of pricing your services. It takes a lot more effort. You have to do a lot more research before offering or pitching your services and quoting a dollar amount or coming to a term as to what it will be for your compensation. But the value pricing essentially basically says you're going to assess the benefit that the client is going to receive for the work you're about to do. And rather than taking into account your time or the effort or work that you're going to do, you look at the reward, the benefit that the client can potentially receive, and you're asking for a percent of that. And that's basically value pricing. Now, all of these being mentioned, I'm going to tell you right now, all of them you don't do. You pick of all of those 2, at most 3, that you use to determine your fees for your services. Most people will pick, say, for example, hourly. They'll use hourly oftentimes for like training when you're going into the client, maybe training a staff member how to do certain tasks. Maybe you're training an administrative person how to enter transactions or do X, Y, or Z, do inventory, let's say. All of a sudden that training, it's a one and done. You're going in, spending time with them, and when it's finished, it's over. Another is the hourly. Hourly is typically used for maybe back work. It's unclear how much time will be spent on that task, and so we're going to charge hourly for it. So if you look at hourly, and then you looked at maybe the fixed rate or whatever for a few circumstances. The last one that you're looking at is, am I going to be charging based on either menu pricing, or am I going to be doing a flat rate for the forward work, or am I going to do revenue based? It's just basically one of those three. And then based on the scenario, you know which you're going to default to and use to calculate your fee and offer to your client that service. Now, with this whole discussion, you're going to then determine, okay, for the services that I defined earlier, this is how I'm going to charge these. For taxes, let's say, for example, with taxes, an individual return, I'm going to charge a flat rate. It's going to be this dollar amount. Or for these forms, I'm going to charge these dollar amounts. See, it's flat rate. It's very simple. For the let's say for the bookkeeping, I'm going to charge this much for, let's say I go revenue. For a business that has less than $1 million in revenue, I charge this amount. For a business that has $1 million to $3 million in revenue, I charge this amount. For a company that's less than $500,000 in revenue, this is the amount. And so you just predetermine these dollar amounts, and you just come up with these things for the services you're charging and offering. Now, in this moment, you've now actually put together with your pro forma, I'm going to need so many clients paying me for these services to meet this need financially or this want financially. Well, when you do your pro forma, it's going to become pretty clear. I need X number of clients that I'm doing for bookkeeping. I need a few more clients that will offer bookkeeping and accounting services too. I need this many clients this tax season doing individual returns. I need this many clients doing business returns. Because you can do the math. You can figure out this is what I'm going to be doing and generating in the coming year offering these services. This pro forma is so helpful because it gives clarity as to what you need to actually do to make this a success. And it doesn't take much time. I can usually do this with a person, someone like yourself, as you're starting your accounting business within a few hours at most. And in doing that, you've got then a map of what it is you're needing to do in your business in the coming months to grow it. Now, this brings us to the next question. You've really kind of created a business plan so far. You know what your services are. You know what your clients benefit from those services. You know what you're going to be charging theoretically, or at least how you're going to be charging for your services. You've determined how many theoretically you need based on your wants and needs financially. So now we've got to kind of get things serious. Most people, the next step is very simple. What am I going to call myself? Got to come up with a business name. There's a lot of exercises I do with individuals to come up with a business name. I'll just give you the quick and dirty. If at the end of 30 minutes, no more than an hour, you have not come up with a business name, it's very simple. It's your last name, accounting, bookkeeping, tax services, and move on. Your name is not that critical. It's fun. It's exciting. It's nice to be able to use something creative. Long gone are the days of wanting to come up with a name that begins with the letter A so that you come at the top of a phone list. I mean, those days are long and gone. It's basically who are you and so forth, and you're moving on. Now, you can be creative and talk about your services and the benefits and fun little cliche-ish names. Long story short, half hour to an hour, if you haven't come up with something that really resonates, it's your last name and then your services perhaps. Now, with that, you also may need to consider getting insured and bonded. The biggest answer to that is you don't need to be insured or bonded unless your state requires it. Some do. And you don't need to be insured with errors and omissions insurance unless you're actually certifying financials. And that's where you're a CPA doing audits and so forth. Other than that, you typically don't need errors and omissions. The thing you need to understand is the beauty of our profession. The onus of the financials is on the owner who actually would sign off on anything. You're not signing anything when you're providing these financials, which is the beauty of the profession. So the errors and omissions typically isn't anything you need to worry about. Some choose to get it, but it's not necessary. Now, with that being said, one of the things that you need to realize now is you need to determine what is the tool you're going to use to do your work. Now, this is sometimes where a lot of people get hung up. They've got their pro forma. They know what services they're offering. They know what they need to be charging to make the money. They've got their business name. They went and got their business license. They're officially in business. Now what? And this is where a lot of people freeze. They start to think, well, I've got to go buy this calculator. I've got to go buy this new computer. Well, I need to buy a desk where I'm going to work from. And they get hung up on a lot of things that really procrastinates. They're putting time and energy into what's mattering most, which is getting a client. So I want you to write down this phrase: nothing happens until you make a sale. You can be the most competent, capable accounting professional, tax professional. I don't care. Unless you have paying customers, it doesn't matter. So at this point, I don't care if you have a desk or not. I don't care if you've got a new laptop or not. I don't care if you've got an office space to do the work. What you need is a client. So let's put that into priority. But some people will at this point still pause and wonder, okay, if I get a client, what software am I going to use to do the work and so forth? So there are some little things here that some people will get hung up on that I'll give merit to that you do need to maybe answer. If you have a preference as to, I prefer to work with a client offering, let's say, my QuickBooks services. I have familiarity with QuickBooks. I'm a pro advisor, perhaps. I'm a QuickBooks specialist. Well, that being said, let's leverage that and go out there and look for clients that need help with their QuickBooks and already are on QuickBooks and would rather somebody else do the QuickBooks for them. That's excellent. Let's leverage that. Well, the point is you've got to decide, is it QuickBooks? Are you going to focus on QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop? Are you going to do Sage? You're going to do Xero? You're going to do FreshBooks? What is it that you're going to maybe niche and specialize in so that in your marketing you can say, if you're a FreshBooks user, I actually am an accounting professional that uses that and specializes in it. And that's going to be something helpful in your marketing. But getting to know what software you're going to use, in my opinion, is hugely important because it is the tool that determines how efficient you're going to be with your time that then will affect how profitable you are. See, the question isn't whether or not you can do the tax return or you can do the financial reports and have accurate numbers, do it correctly. That's not the question. Oftentimes when I'm working with accounting professionals, they're pretty comfortable with their skills. But with regards to time, there's a difference between the task taking you 8 hours for a client versus 10 hours for a client versus 15 hours for a client to do their financials. If you can actually do it quicker and you're especially charging a flat rate for your services, you can see that you're now only increasing your hourly earnings for the work you're doing. If you're going to charge somebody $500 to do the work and you're doing the work in, let's say, 10 hours, versus 5 hours, you can see how you got the same $500, but you took twice as long to do the work. So the software can greatly impact this. With regards to tax software, there's a lot of considerations and options there that you can be considering. But knowing this going in is one thing. Being proficient at the one you choose is another. So I'm going to pause here, and this is a tangent. I've had this conversation with people that are bookkeepers that have been doing the books for let's say, an employer for a number of years, and their confidence with that is good enough that they want to go get clients in the same industry, and all of a sudden they want to get these clients doing what they're already familiar with, and they're fine doing that. I'm working with accounting professionals, CPAs, let's say, where they've been in the workforce for years, decades. They want to go out now and start their own business. But to ask them to work with a small business owner where maybe the company never set up a chart of accounts, hasn't been doing it in a set of books in an official way. They've commingled personal funds with their business funds. When you're going into the small business community offering accounting services to small, mid-sized companies, you're going to run into things that you may not have experienced in the workforce when you worked in an accounting department and you had a company that was running on true accounting principles, and it was just kind of this turnkey process and system in recording transactions and producing the financial reports. That's totally different than working with a small business owner that literally is in business and the accounting is just kind of limping along. How do you do payables, receivables? How do you actually manage payroll taxes, workman's comp? There's a lot of questions that these people may not have answered as they've gotten into business, and as you take them on as a client, you acquire them and find out all of a sudden that things are not as they should be, and you're having to do a lot of cleaning up and fixing. And your confidence to do that, your competence to do that, determines how well you're going to be able to take on the client and quickly take care of these needs that they're needing you to help figure out, because you are that expert to them. You're the payroll expert. You're the cash flow expert. You're the receivables expert. You're this to them. You're everything to them. And so for some people, the best thing that I can say at this very moment is it does come down to confidence and competence. So for a lot of individuals, they have to do some refresher training or maybe get some training in small business accounting just to kind of revisit the nuances of what they're doing so that they can confidently go out there and offer their services. And that's awesome. If you are in a position where you can look a business owner in the eye and confidently say, I can take care of your accounting needs, I can do your books, I can do your taxes, that confidence is going to enable you to get new clients. It allows you to basically instill in that potential client a confidence in your skill sets to the point that they're going to be willing to pay you to do the work. And that's what we want. Once you leave that conversation, that confidence is paid off because you got the engagement. Now you've got to go back to the office and competently do the work. You've got to do this efficiently. It's one thing to stumble along and kind of figure it out as you go. It's another thing to competently have processes and procedures in place that take something that may have took 10, 12, 15 hours before and do that in 10, 9, 8 hours. And there's where your earnings really start to pay off. So this is, I think, important to realize as you're looking at like the software and the processes, the systems that you have in place to maybe onboard the client, and make sure that as you're onboarding the client, it's a seamless experience that the customer has with you and they enjoy it. It was painless and now they feel like they're being taken care of. All these things are hugely important. So now what I want to do is talk about setting up your business infrastructure. Basically, it's your workflow. And is what I was alluding to just a moment ago. What I was referring to happens to be then, okay, what is the experience that the customer is going to have with you the moment they say, yes, I'll have you do my books or my taxes or whatever the case may be. Once that agreement is made and you've got the deal, it's the steps of, okay, here's what I'm going to do to onboard them, and here's what I'm going to do each and every month as a service that they're paying me for. And it's a checklist of this is everything I need to do this month, and then it's going to start all over again the next month. And then it's how do you report that back to the client so that they have now information they can be using to more intelligently make business decisions in their companies. If you're producing the reports and they're not using the information, there's a disconnect. So we want to make sure that you're not only just completing and doing it all, whether it be taxes or the bookkeeping or accounting, but we're giving it to them and we're reporting back. We're giving them highlights and information that they need to know for the coming month or year. Now, that all being said, that's your infrastructure. You have in place your processes, you've got the software in place, you've got the tools you need to do the work. And it literally then puts you into a situation where, with regards to your business, you're ready to take on clients. You're in a situation now that literally somebody can say, I'll pay you to do the work, and you're ready to go. Now, I want to be clear. Everything that I've described at this point can literally be accomplished in less than a day. All these things can be decided, put in place, implemented in less than a day, except for the training that you may be needing to get the confidence to move forward. That confidence, it varies person to person. For some individuals, it's going back and getting retrained. There are programs at Universal Accounting that we offer to help specifically with this. And maybe this is a great time to just break off as a sponsor, if you will, of basically Universal Accounting. But there are essential programs that can be used to help in this journey. And one of the things that I want to emphasize is it's unique to what the company you're building needs. What are the services you're offering? Bookkeeping, tax, advisory services, all these things would determine then essentially what you need, maybe the formal training in to have the confidence to go out and get the clients. So just as a quick side, maybe a tangent here, the accountantepreneur's journey is often experienced going through the following programs. Color Accounting. This is the program perfectly designed to cover the entirety of the accounting model in a very simple way so as to help you communicate that experience, that journey of a business through the financials in layman terms. So it's essentially your ability to communicate more effectively with your clients. The next is the Professional Bookkeeper program, which enables you to literally get the training you need to take care of the bookkeeping of your clients and literally be prepared for one of three common situations. Either one, you're taking over the books of business from another accountant, someone else who's been doing the books, and you're now taking over that role. And how do you acquire those books from that other accounting professional? And what do you do to take over those books, making sure that they're accurate and that you're going to own them theoretically from this point forward? The other scenario is no one's been doing the books. There is no book of business. They've just been limping along, paying their bills, and commingling funds. And all of a sudden, we need to set up a business. It's very possible that they've never even gotten a business license. There are instances where someone just has this epiphany of, I guess I've been doing this for a year or two and people have been paying me for this. I guess I need to think of this as a business and treat it as such. And so they start their business, but they've got months, if not a year or more, of transactions and things going on. And they're coming to you to say, hey, start me up from scratch. How do you do that? The third common situation happens to be someone in the business is doing the books, but they have no formal accounting training. It's the owner themselves, the spouse, it's an office manager, it's an administrative person in the company. These people don't have formal accounting experience, and they've just kind of done what they thought was best. They kind of ran the books of business like it was a personal account, and they're just doing things as best they can. You need to come in and really clean things up and get things organized as an accountant would. Well, would you be able to step into all three of those roles? And the professional bookkeeper program goes through those scenarios and so much more so that you can offer quality bookkeeping services to small and medium-sized companies. The next would be becoming a professional tax preparer. This is literally where you're now offering not only just individual return services, but business return services, tax planning, and preparation. It's a basic service, but yet it's the competency in which you're able to do all of this as a tax professional. So it's taking maybe the experiences you've had in the past of doing a few returns here and there, maybe working for a tax shop, and now you're going to do this on your own. Well, you're the one that's liable. Now let's get a little bit more serious about this so you become a professional tax preparer. The next would then be moving into advisory services, more the accountant role. It's where you're doing more analysis. You're actually doing trends and ratios. You're doing business forecasts and such. That accountant role is definitely more advisory by nature. And so how do you get into that advisory relationship with your client where literally you're now asking questions, giving advice, trying to really coach the business owner on how they can do their business more profitably and efficiently? That role as being an advisor is hugely important. In fact, in the program, the Profit and Growth Expert Program, we tackle two of the most common challenges that you will experience as you offer accounting services that business owners are facing. And the first happens to be cash flow management. There's a number of businesses out there that have a great product or service. They actually have customers and make sales, but they struggle with cash flow. They struggle with customers ordering their products and then later paying and floating that and becoming a bank. Cash flow becomes the life or death of that business. And so getting in and helping them actually move from being in the red to being in the black is a hugely important role that you can take on as their advisor. But once they've moved from being red to black, it's then focusing on how to keep them in the black, applying 9 specific principles that they can use in their business to ensure their profitability. And so that's one of the things that we want to really incorporate into your services is the ability to take a business that's struggling financially and move them from the red to the black and keeping them there. Now, offering accounting services, offering advisory services, all these things are great and dandy, but in the Profit and Growth Expert Program, what we do is we help you understand how to more easily and comfortably, as an accounting professional, sell and market these services. It's literally what we're discussing today when starting a business, the rubber meeting the road of, can you go out and market and sell these services? So that brings me back to the business model. And with regards to all of this, we need to find you customers. We've got to get you out there and literally start doing what it takes to get an engagement. So this is, like I shared earlier, nothing happens until you make a sale. I want you to circle that phrase. With regards to this, it's just basically now you become an accountrepreneur. Yes, you offer accounting services, but you're an entrepreneur by heart. You've got to go out there and get clients. And so we just need to begin identifying where are we going to market the services that we offer? Where are we going to go and theoretically find business owners congregating that I can offer my services to? Where is it that I can find a potential client? Marketing is literally just that. All you need to understand about marketing is what is it that you can be doing so as to be able to find yourself in a situation that you're talking to a potential client. Once you've identified someone, got a name, a phone number, an email, met that potential business owner, they're no longer in the marketing phase. You have them, you know who they are. They move into the sales phase. And the sales phase is the nurturing of them, which can be something that happens immediately and literally after meeting a customer, a potential customer, same conversation, same day. You're into the presentation mode and you're actually explaining your services, and perhaps they're saying yes. Maybe it's sitting across from them when you're meeting with them and you're going through the presentation and asking for the sale. That's perfectly fine. It can happen quickly, but oftentimes, more often than not, it's a referral that's given to you. It's at a networking meeting that you actually happen to meet a potential business owner. And now the nurturing starts to take place where you're selling them, helping them see, here are the services I offer. Here's why I'm the expert. Here's why I'm the right choice for you. And it's that nurturing of them that get them to the point that they want to meet with you and discuss in detail the services you offer and how they can benefit. And you're able to offer your services and ask for the deal. Well, that being said, you can see that there's a distinction between marketing and selling. And what we need to do is literally put forth the effort now to find and now retain a client. Now, with regards to this, one of the things that I want to emphasize is at Universal Accounting Center, we have identified a number of proven, effective marketing strategies, things where you can spend your time going about actually marketing your services and inexpensively and yet effectively get the contacts you need. Inexpensively and effectively market and nurture them and sell them on your services. It's a whole nother discussion. So, we've been at this now for nearly 40 minutes covering all these things to start your business. So I don't want to get into a marketing discussion right now, but you can clearly see that with everything else that's taken place, you have a business plan, a pro forma. You clearly know what your services are, that when asked, you can explain what it is you do and how your customers benefit, and you can get out there marketing your services. So let me kind of summarize this part. The best thing that you can do is be able to articulate for your customers in just 30 seconds or so what it is you do. To simply say you're an accountant, bookkeeper, tax preparer is too generic. It's they're able to read between the lines too much. We want to entice them more. So what we refer to as in your marketing is being able to identify yourself as a profit and growth expert. It's intriguing. What do you mean you're a profit and growth expert? How does that apply to my business? How's that different than the other bookkeeper I know down the street? With regards to you being able to define yourself as we suggest you train and offer your services as a profit and growth expert, you're able to say that not only do you do tax planning and preparation, cash flow management, and management controls, but literally you help your clients legally reduce their taxes, have money in the bank, be profitable, and help the business owner get paid what they're worth. When a business owner hears that you work with them to legally lower their taxes, they're intrigued. Really? You can help me with that? Yes. I work with my clients to ensure that they have money in the bank. Really? How's that possible? And that's obviously the cash flow management that we were discussing earlier. Third, you actually help me so that I get paid what I'm worth, that I'm profitable, that I can literally take something home and stop running my business where periodically everybody else gets paid before I do. I make payroll, pay my vendors before I get paid. These types of realities of what these business owners are experiencing, to hear that you actually help them legally lower their taxes, help them keep money in the bank, and more importantly, get paid what they're worth, that they're profitable, that resonates. Tell me more. Let's meet and let's talk about what it is you do. And that enables you to then sit down one-on-one with them and go over what your services are and ask for the business. Now, again, this whole episode of this podcast was meant to just quickly summarize a conversation that I have time and time again with individuals as they're looking to start their business. It's meant to help you realize that there is a turnkey process to start your business. Regardless of why you're looking at starting or building your company, there is a way to do this intelligently with a business plan, with purpose, with intent, and working towards a very specific goal of what you need or want financially. With this clarity, I'm going to tell you that you're more likely to achieve it. And more importantly, you're going to do so in a quicker timeline. And that's huge. That's huge. There's no reason to drag this out longer than it needs to be. So with that in mind, let me just kind of break off into a sponsor mention here. Obviously, this episode, as I stated earlier, is being sponsored by Universal Accounting Center. This is basically a program that is designed for accounting professionals to help them start and build successful accounting businesses. In this process, we have a number of programs designed to specifically help you get the confidence and competence you need to move forward and achieve that. As part of this, I'll actually include in the episode description a link to go actually get more information on the Turnkey Business Plan for Accounting Professionals. It is literally a free course that you can go and listen to the specifics of what you need to actually do to create your business plan with greater clarity, addressing the services you're providing, the pricing that you're going to be charging, and create the pro forma to know what you need in order to meet your financial objectives. Now, with that being said, let me also clarify. The rubber meets the road with nothing happening until you make your sale. And so we also then talk about marketing strategies, essentially the sales ladder that you can be looking at as to how you're going to go about bringing clients on and having them engage with you to be their accountant, bookkeeper, or tax preparer. The one thing that I'd like to stress at this time is you can be successful. There is a process to starting and building your business. So if you happen to have been listening to this because you're considering starting out, definitely reach out to Universal Accounting Center, and we can definitely assess your current situation, your experience, your goals, and determine what path might be the best one for you. If you happen to already have your business in place and you are in fact up and running a successful accounting business, have employees in fact, that is wonderful. This process of revisiting the business plan and pro forma is something that I suggest you do on at least a yearly basis. Coincidentally, we're just right now doing that in our company. I had a meeting just last week with the management team. We were doing our forecast for the new year, reviewing all the numbers and what the plans are. Just earlier this week, had a board meeting, and in that board spoke with the board members about what the plans are for the new year. I mean, this is a natural thing that whether you be a solo entrepreneur and you're individually doing this as an accountability to yourself, or whether you're working with your company and actually now taking it to that new year, that next level, this is a healthy exercise for you to look at. So I'm hoping as you look at your notes, you can see some very specific things there that have helped you get clarity on how you can best move forward. But then I also invite you to reach out to Universal Accounting Center. Take advantage of this episode description offer to literally go ahead and get the Turnkey Business Plan for Accounting Professionals. I think you'll find that course hugely valuable as you're working on your business to start it off. But at the same time, reach out to Universal Accounting Center. You can contact us by going to our website at universalaccountingschool.com or give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. I hope that this has been an informative episode to listen to. I hope from this you got a little bit more clarity as to a few of the things that you need to address as you're moving forward to build your business. I believe that through this process you can see that it isn't as daunting as some people may feel it can be just because of the unknowns. I hope that clarity today has given you a little bit more of hope of, you know what, maybe I can do this. This is something I ought to do. This is something that I need to do. And if that's the case, we look forward to speaking with you and helping you succeed, because accounting success is universal. Since 1979, we've been working with accounting professionals, helping thousands of people both start and build successful accounting businesses. And it's in this process that we've learned the tips and the tricks, the best practices, the things that you can do to grow your business effectively and inexpensively with confidence and competence to literally go out there and be the premier accounting firm in your area. So with all that being said, I thank you for your time and appreciate you listening in and wish you the best. I hope that everything is well for you. So be safe out there. And remember, accounting success is universal. Take care and have a great day.